Have you ever felt like your relationships are on autopilot? Maybe you're going through the motions with your spouse, kids, or even your closest friends, but something feels off. We're close, but something's missing. Maybe you and your spouse aren't as connected as you once were, or feel distant from your kids or close friends.
That's a feeling so many of us can relate to, Kevin. Life gets busy, communication becomes surface level, and the relationships that matter most feel strained or disconnected before we know it. But here's the truth: with intentionality and effort, those connections can grow stronger than ever. We all want stronger relationships, but often we struggle to connect in meaningful ways. Today, we'll explore how to build deeper, more intentional relationships through connection and communication. Whether it's at home, at work, or in your friendships, these strategies can help you strengthen the bonds that matter most.
Absolutely, Michael. Today, we'll explore building deeper, more meaningful relationships by focusing on connection and communication. Whether it's at home with your kids or with lifelong friends, we'll give you tools to strengthen those bonds and create a sense of closeness that lasts. If you're ready to transform your relationships and communicate with more purpose, stick with us. This episode is packed with practical insights and faith-centered wisdom to help you connect on a deeper level. Welcome to Iron Strengthens Iron, where faith, wellness, and biblical truths come together to help men lead stronger, healthier, and more purposeful lives. I'm Dr. Kevin T. Hattaway, a family physician.
And I'm Dr. Michael E. Hattaway, a clinical psychologist. Today's topic hits home for everyone: how to strengthen your relationships through intentional connection and communication. Relationships don't just happen by chance. They require effort, patience, and a willingness to grow. It's all about relationships, how to build and strengthen the connections that matter most. Kevin, relationships are at the heart of our lives, but require intentional effort to thrive.
Exactly, Michael. Intentionality is the key, whether you're focusing on your marriage, your children, or friendships. Let's dive into how we can bring purpose and faith into the way we connect and communicate. Whether you're working to improve your marriage, bond with your children, or deepen friendships, today's conversation will give you the tools to communicate effectively and connect intentionally. Our anchor scripture today is Ecclesiastes 4, verse 9 through 10. Two are better than one because they have a good return for their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. This verse reminds us of the importance of strong relationships. They're a source of strength, support, and growth.
That's such a great reminder, Kevin. Relationships are God's design for us to grow together and support one another. But to experience that kind of connection, we must be intentional about how we communicate and connect.
Michael, before we get into the practical steps, let's talk about why connection is so important. Why do you think intentional relationships are such a foundational part of life?
Great question, Kevin. First, relationships give us a sense of belonging. When we feel connected, we're more resilient to stress and challenges. Second, strong relationships help us grow spiritually and emotionally. As biblical wisdom say, as iron strengthens iron, so one man strengthens another. We need each other to become better.
I love that, Michael. And I'd add that relationships provide accountability. Whether it's in your faith, health, or personal goals, having someone who knows you deeply and supports you makes all the difference.
Exactly. And when we're intentional about building those connections, we create an environment where we can thrive together, not just individually, but as families, friends, and communities.
Michael, let's start by unpacking what makes relationships thrive. What are some key ingredients for building strong connections?
Great question, Kevin. Two of the biggest factors are trust and communication. Trust is the foundation of any strong relationship, and communication is the bridge that keeps it alive. Without these, building depth or sustaining long-term connections is hard.
Absolutely. And I'd add vulnerability to that list. Being willing to share your thoughts, feelings, and even struggles creates space for deeper understanding and connection.
Right. Vulnerability goes hand in hand with empathy. Truly listening to and understanding the other person's perspective. These elements work together to create a relationship that's not just functional, but deeply fulfilling. Kevin, relationships aren't just a part of life, they're central to God's design. From the very beginning, we see this in Genesis 2:18 when God says, "It is not good for the man to be alone." We're created for connection, both with God and with others.
That's so true, Michael. And Jesus emphasizes this in the New Testament when he says in John 13:34, "A new command I give you, love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another." Intentional love and connection are at the heart of our faith and our relationships.
Kevin, when we look at the Bible, we see that relationships aren't just a part of life, they're central to God's design. Genesis 2:18 says, "It is not good for the man to be alone." From the very beginning, God created us for connection.
That's so true, Michael, and Jesus himself modeled this for us. He spent time building close relationships with his disciples, sharing meals, teaching, and even washing their feet. His life shows us that meaningful relationships require humility, service, and love.
Exactly, Kevin. Jesus gave us a command to love one another. As I have loved you, so you must love one another. Love isn't just a feeling, it's an action, and it's foundational to building strong relationships.
Michael, let's focus on communication for a moment. It's often said that communication is the foundation of every strong relationship. Why do you think it's so critical?
Communication is how we express love, resolve conflict, and build trust. But here's the thing, communication isn't just about talking, it's also about listening. When we truly listen to someone, we show them that they're valued and understood.
That's such a key point. I've seen how active listening, giving someone your full attention without interrupting, can transform relationships. It's a small change, but it creates a sense of connection and respect. And let's not forget about nonverbal communication. A smile, a hug, or even just being present can say so much without a single word. It's about being intentional in every interaction. Michael, why is communication such a critical piece in building stronger relationships?
Great question, Kevin. Communication is how we express our needs, resolve conflicts, and build trust. But it's not just about what we say, it's also about how we listen. Effective communication requires both speaking with clarity and listening with empathy.
That's such a key point. I've seen how even small communication habits, like actively listening instead of interrupting, can make a huge difference in relationships.
And it's not just about resolving issues, it's about building connection in everyday conversations. Simple things like checking in, expressing appreciation, or sharing something meaningful can strengthen bonds over time.
Let's get practical. Here are some steps our listeners can take to strengthen their relationships. Schedule regular connection time. Set aside time each week for one-on-one moments with your spouse, kids, or close friends. Even 15 minutes of uninterrupted focus can make a huge difference. Practice active listening. When someone is speaking, resist the urge to interrupt or think about your response. Just listen.
Those are great, Kevin. I'd add, ask meaningful questions. Go beyond the surface. Instead of asking, "How was your day?" try, "What's been on your mind lately?" to invite deeper conversation. Express appreciation regularly. Make it a habit to thank the people in your life for what they do and who they are. It strengthens bonds and reinforces positive behavior.
And here's one more. Pray together. Whether it's with your spouse, your kids, or even a friend, praying together builds spiritual intimacy and invites God into your relationship. Michael, communication is essential. Let's give our listeners more practical steps to build stronger relationships. Here are a few more. Make time for connection. Schedule regular one-on-one time with your spouse, kids, or close friends. Even 15 minutes of focused attention can make a big difference. Practice active listening. Give the other person your full attention. Put down your phone, make eye contact, and listen without preparing your response.
Great tips, Kevin. Here are two more. Ask open-ended questions. Instead of asking, "How was your day?" try, "What was the best part of your day?" to invite deeper conversation. Express gratitude. Make it a habit to thank the people in your life for specific things they do. It reinforces positive behavior and shows you value them.
Those are great, Michael. And one more. Pray together. Whether it's with your spouse, your kids, or a close friend, praying together deepens your connection and brings God into the center of your relationship.
Kevin, building strong relationships isn't always easy. What are some common obstacles and how can they overcome them?
One big obstacle is busyness. When life gets hectic, relationships often take a back seat. The key is to prioritize connection, even in small ways. For example, Have a no-phone dinner or set aside a few minutes to talk at the end of the day.
Another challenge is unresolved conflict. Many people avoid hard conversations, but those unresolved issues can create distance. Addressing conflict with kindness and honesty is essential for growth.
And then there's fear of vulnerability. It can be scary to open up, but when we do, it builds trust and deepens our relationships. Michael, another area where many relationships struggle is communication during conflict. What advice would you give to someone who feels their conversations always lead to arguments?
That's a great question, Kevin. One of the biggest keys is to focus on understanding rather than winning. Instead of trying to prove your point, ask yourself, what is this person really feeling or needing right now?
And I'd add the importance of timing. Sometimes waiting for the right moment to have a conversation when both people are calm and open can make all the difference.
Exactly. And let's not forget grace. Remember, none of us communicate perfectly, and extending forgiveness goes a long way in maintaining healthy relationships. Let's talk about a common communication mistake, the "they should know" trap. This is the assumption that the people closest to us should automatically understand what we need or feel without us saying it.
That's so common, Michael. I've seen couples where one partner expects the other to just get it, but the truth is no one's a mind reader. Clear communication is essential.
Exactly. Instead of assuming, be direct. For example, say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed and could use some help," rather than expecting them to figure it out. It's a small change that can prevent a lot of frustration. Let's address another common communication mistake, the mind reading trap. This is the assumption that others should automatically know what we need or feel without us expressing it.
That's such a common issue, Michael. I've seen couples who expect their partner to know exactly what's wrong without saying a word. But the truth is, no one's a mind reader. Clear communication is key.
Exactly. Instead of expecting someone to guess, say, "I'm feeling overwhelmed and could use some support." It's a simple shift, but it can make all the difference.
Michael, if there's one thing I'd want our listeners to take away, it's that strong relationships aren't built overnight. They're built one intentional step at a time. They don't happen overnight, but with effort and faith, they can grow stronger every day.
And remember, you don't have to do this alone. God designed us for connection, and He'll give you the wisdom and strength to build the relationships. God is with you, giving you the wisdom and strength to build the connections He's called you to nurture.
Today we explored the biblical foundation for relationships and God's design for connection, the importance of communication and how listening is just as vital as speaking. Practical steps include making time for connection, expressing gratitude, and praying together. How to overcome obstacles like busyness, unresolved conflict, and fear of vulnerability. Overcoming challenges like conflict and the "they should know" trap, and the importance of clear communication to avoid the mind-reading trap. As we conclude this episode of Iron Strengthens Iron, we want to remind you that the insights shared here are meant for educational and motivational purposes. They are not a substitute for professional medical, psychological, or pastoral advice. If you're facing challenges that require personalized care, we encourage you to seek the guidance of a qualified professional in your area.
Thank you for joining us on this journey of faith, strength, and brotherhood. We hope today's message inspires you to connect with those you love and strengthen the bonds that matter most.
Thank you for listening to Iron Strengthens Iron. If today's episode encouraged you, share it with someone who needs it. Don't forget to subscribe. We'll see you next time on the Iron Strengthens Iron podcast. Stay strong in faith and wellness. If you want more inspiration, consider checking out our YouTube channel at Iron Strengthens Iron.
Until next time, keep strengthening, stay resilient, and remember, as iron strengthens iron, so one man strengthens another.